Hey there. It's morning here, so good morning, I guess. Day two, Taj versus log two. Feels a little more normal to do. I might do a bit more of these just to clear my thoughts. Again, maybe it's helpful for people. I'm just getting used to a routine. Um, when I came out here this morning, I was trying to think of all this stuff today, stuff to say, and over planning is a thing. Um, I'm very much of that person to over plan or try to think 5 steps ahead of all the things I have to do and say. And I think it can be a bad thing, right? People always talk about, oh, you should have plans, you should make sure that stuff is done right, um, and that you understand what you're doing. And I agree to that. But over planning is an issue. Um, I think it's a form of perfectionism. And if you're a perfectionist, that actually can work against you a lot. Because if you only take actions when you perceive things that could be perfect, um, you're going to do a lot less. And perfect isn't really real. Um, yeah. Or I'll say people are used to social media and stuff where things look perfect, but what people don't think about a lot is if something looks perfect, it was probably redone a few times or like many times over. Or the person has gotten the process down to where it's just easy for them. And that's dangerous, like to just see all the time. And that's why I'm doing this, because it's not perfect. I'm just rambling, which is, I think, important. So perfection is dangerous. Um, a lot of people get in this mindset where like they really have to know what they're doing, or they have to have all this knowledge about the thing they're making before they do it. When a lot of times you learn more of the process as you do the thing. So let's say you're going to the gym, right? A lot of people, everyone, when they first start in the gym, they don't know anything. They don't know anything about it. They don't know what all these machines are. They don't know, like, what all the steps are to get to their end goal of what they want. Um, but they just go, and that's the most important part. Um, it's with anything. And then also, people get used to comfort. So a lot of things that people end up getting good at, the level that they operate at over a long time, it is very difficult, right? But they're just familiar with the space, they're familiar with what they're doing. Um, so it feels easy. Um, it's a comfort zone thing. But if you take them and put them in a completely unknown space, um, that comfort goes away. Um, so they might perceive this new thing to be super difficult, but it's just they don't have the awareness. They don't know how things function. Um, so like, let's say you take someone that's like a world class pianist, um, and then you give them, you make them play chess, right? They might know close to nothing, and because they know close to nothing about that activity, they maybe aren't going to look too smart, but they have their craft that they could blow other people out of the water of. So it's all relative, right? And a lot of people are good, like a really really good at one thing. So there's a lot to be learned from other people too. A lot of things that I would say I've had more success at um, were way past the comfort zone. Um, and that's, yeah, yeah. The things I've gotten really good at, um, or people perceive me to be like leagues above what they could do, I was really bad at first. Um, so you embrace the comfort zone, or sorry, you embrace the uncomfortableness of the new space. You get the knowledge to understand what you're doing. You get around people that know what they're doing in that space. Um, and then your progress starts to become faster. You learn how to learn, um, and then you get better, right? So people think sometimes that if they do some sequence of steps, that things are just going to be easy, um, and um, they're not going to face this wall of difficulty, right? Which avoiding the wall is not fixing the problem. It's just making things easier to make it feel like you're better. Um, I always try to relate things back to what I'm familiar with. So I train acrobatics and stuff. And the first thing that people always say is like, "Oh, that's so cool." I could never though, because I'd break my neck trying something. And it is funny. It's interesting because the perceived fear, um, there's this saying that I like. Um, Fear is false evidence appearing real. F.E.A.R. And that's the best way to put it. So, false evidence being that if you try to do a flip, you are inherently going to fall and hurt yourself. Like, that is just the only thing that would happen, right? And so, when you operate on that false evidence, your only perception is that things will go wrong, right? You neglect all the space or opportunity of things going right and you getting past that hurdle because that false evidence is stopping you in your tracks from the start. Um, and that's what it is. Knowing when you can determine that fear is not important or it's not valid. Because I've done this stuff and there's been multiple walls of fear, maybe over and over again, where I'm like, okay, the fear doesn't matter here. I don't acknowledge that it's important, or important enough to stop me from trying. And then you learn how to operate in sort of a relationship with that fear, and you learn from it. That's the most important thing. And then when presented with that emotion or that feeling of fear, you can choose to go past it or you can choose to heed it because it is a warning. But when you go past the fear, there's only learning, right? And people don't perceive it that way. They just perceive fear as danger, as something going wrong because they don't know how it works. And I can't fault people for that. I can't fault people for that because that's for a reason, right? If you have no fear, you'll probably just get hurt all the time or fail at stuff, and things maybe don't turn out right. But if you're paralyzed with fear in thinking that if something's scary, the answer is don't do it because things will go wrong and you can't let things go wrong, right? So that's the thing. And the worst case scenario, like usually that people make up, is not going to happen. So like let's say this, I talk on camera. Um, what might be the worst case scenario that people think could happen if they record a video and upload it? Maybe like people don't like what I say, and then they ban my channel, and then I can never do it again. Or like people don't like you, and you just like can't, yeah, you just can't do it again. It's the worst possible thing that could happen, I think. Or there's like some action against you that could be negative. But it's like that fear which maybe isn't the loudest thing in your head. It's maybe not you consciously deciding on that. But that fear um, is just like so outlandish. Like it's not even close to the reality that would happen. Um, and people don't perceive that to be the case. They're just like, oh, there's this weird cloud of uh, misinterpretation um, that we operate on. Um, so many times, fear is literally not real. The end results of what we perceive with that fear is not a reality. So that's one thing I think about if I'm trying something new. Um, it's like it's not real. It's not real. My perception of how things would go wrong is like literally not a result. Um, and then when you get better at things or you're more used to learning or learning something new, is the likelihood of that worst outcome is just much lower, like 2%, 1%, right? And then once you've done it several times, you're familiar with the thing. You're familiar with the thing, and then that likelihood of something going wrong is much lower. So, um, that's it. I guess this video is just about fear. Um, yeah, that's today. Um, and that's what holds people back. I could dive way more into it. Oh, and it's pattern recognition. So pattern recognition being where you've seen, like in a numbers sense, um, you see an event and possibly things going wrong with that event, right? So the pattern being you do something and then something goes wrong because of it. So you perceive that, with the statistics or the likelihood of things going wrong, um, attunes or adjusts your action for trying that thing. And so those numbers get skewed. It's like that 5% chance of things going wrong looks like 50%. Um, and that's really big. So just go out there, try what isn't comfortable, nullify that version of fear in your head that isn't real. Again, false evidence appearing real. And you're going to get further just over time. Just do it.